On today's video, we get to speak with Sharon Smith about her journey into the hair industry and opening up her own salon. Coming up. In today's episode, you're going to feel empowered, unstoppable, and gain the tools to accomplish anything you can dream of, using real examples from some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. That's all happening today on the I Can Show. Hello everyone and welcome to the I Can Show podcast, the only podcast that's here to show you the realm of possibilities and how you can succeed in your very own passion. My name is James Martin. I'm super excited because today we get to speak with a very good friend and colleague of mine, Sharon Smith. But before we get into that, I have some very important news to share with all of you. Number one, if you're new to this podcast, I would love to invite you to please subscribe and follow along on the other podcast episodes because there's so much inspiring, so much inspiration and great stories with other people and other great celebrities that we got to know and understood their journey in a very practical way. One of the reasons I started this podcast in the first place was because I really much enjoyed figuring out the practical journey of how someone went from beginning to being successful. And that's what this whole show is all about. So if that's inspiring to you, please check out the other episodes. I also have some very important news to share with you, and that is today will be the final episode of the I Can Show podcast. It's been amazing, great fun, so many awesome people and entrepreneurs we got to speak with. Unfortunately, that does come to an end. However, you can still go back to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and iTunes to check out the other episodes. And hopefully they'll still continue to inspire you. All right, so that's the big news. So why don't we give a huge round of applause and introduce our very special guest today, Sharon Smith. Sharon, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, Sharon, you recently got recognized for a very special award recently. Could you talk to us about that, please?
Oh, that was so exciting. It was really unexpected. Wonderful to receive a nomination. The Volunteer Recognition Awards for the Barrie Innisfil area by MP John Brassard. They had several volunteers throughout the area who received awards.
That's fantastic, and congratulations. So, Sharon, could you take us back to the very beginning of the hair industry when you first started out? What was that journey like?
I actually started off in the field of nursing. That was where I thought my path was going to lead me, but I was doing everybody's hair at the nursing residence, and it was an indicator that hair was where I needed to be. I found hair very exciting, and I was a hair model, and then moved forward into a training and accelerated training at Vidal Sassoon's in Yorkville in Toronto.
Well, that's great. You certainly seized the opportunity. So, where did you go from there?
From Toronto, I moved back to Belleville, where I went to high school, and continued to work there as a stylist and had an opportunity to open my own salon with a partner. And that's when we created FX, was the name of it. And it was operational and very successful for 7 years.
Okay, so why don't you describe to us what that journey was like to move? Because it sounded like it was a really big decision.
I think that at that point in time, as a young adult, I wanted my life to be a little more simplified. And I wanted to slow my life down a little and embrace the opportunity of working in a smaller city. And then when the opportunity came to have my own salon, even though I was quite young, I found that pretty exciting. It was all about growth and changes and new challenges.
Okay, so you moved to Belleville. So, what was it like when you went from employee to employer and owning your very first salon?
It was challenging. I mean, you're excited at first, you're caught up in the I'm a business owner, and I mean, years later, I think I'm a business owner. There's a different frame of mind that I think comes with maturity and experience. The opportunity that I had was brilliant at the time. I had the support of a partner, a silent partner, and learned a lot, but not enough. not enough to sustain the business. Even though we were popular, we were the place to go, and I was successful as far as the marketing and the clients coming in. Bottom line, I didn't really understand enough about financing, and it was really important that I know more. So unfortunately, it did not succeed financially. And so I decided to walk away from the business after 7 years and be in the capacity of a stylist instead of an owner.
Okay, so why did you move from Belleville to Barrie?
After living in Belleville for 18 years, it was a sad time to leave all of my clients. I knew that I was going to miss them. I enjoyed Belleville, but it was time to move forward with the next adventure in my life. We decided it would be wonderful to be a little closer to family, as I was now a mother of two children and married and wanted to spend more family time.
Okay, so it sounded like you were on a journey of self discovery. So, what were some of the challenges that you faced when it came to opening up the second salon and moving to Barrie?
The key challenge within my industry is always about staffing, finding people that represent your brand and making sure that they're comfortable with the tribe that they are signing up for and that you're comfortable with them. Um, Within my industry, it's based on skill and kindness. And when we have that imperfect synchronicity, then you have a successful stylist. And my business is comprised of several people within your tribe.
Okay, so why did you decide to call your studio Connect Hair Studio?
The decision for Connect was when my husband asked me, what is it that you do that might be a little different from what somebody else might do? And I felt that with years of experience, I learned to read people a lot more and to be more engaging in my consultation and to really hear what they're saying, to really listen to what their story is. It's like peeling back the layers as you get to know somebody. So, yes, definitely connecting with the client in your chair, connecting with your staff, connecting in an artistic way, the color to the cut. And then, more importantly, I've realized recently that connecting with my community is really fulfilling for me.
Okay, now I know that you've worked extremely hard to establish a brand for your studio. How did you do that?
Everything seemed to happen organically. As I was mentioning earlier, when people tell you what their need is, it's easy for it to come about, which is how my Women's Connection events came about by somebody saying, well, I've had a son who had epilepsy, or I've had somebody who has passed from cancer. And when you listen to people and you hear what their stories are, and you think, well, in this interconnected world, it's easy to form groups that can make a difference. For instance, the homeless haircuts. I had the director of the Busby Center. She came in, she sat in my chair, we consulted, and I gave her the hair services that she was there for. But I found that there was a need. And so I went to the Busby Center and I cut hair that day, and I found that my heart felt really full. So when I posted on social media later on, oh, this is such an amazing feeling. Feels great to give and to humanize these people, that a lot of other hairstylists felt the same way. And sometimes it's like a chain reaction and it just seems to happen organically. And now there's a team of 18 hairstylists throughout the area that feel the same way that I do, that together we make a difference.
Right. Now, I can certainly say that most other businesses do have the same challenge of staffing. And so, what I'm also wondering is if there was someone who wanted to be hired as a stylist, what are some of the key things that they should consider and think about before approaching a studio?
I think it's really important, back to knowing your tribe. I think it's really important that before they come to the salon to apply for the position, that they really know who I am and what we are about, and make sure that they do a little bit of their homework and their research to find out if that studio is specifically the best choice for them.
Okay. Now, I'm just curious, is there like a psychology element to being a stylist and working with hair and working with the customers? What's that all about?
Very much so. When I first started in this industry, I went to this annual hair show called the ABA, and I met somebody by the name of Dr. Lou Lazansi, who was a clinical psychologist and found that as he was working with his patients, some of the patients would go and get their hair done. And when that happened, sometimes the path of treatment plan would change because of the effect of what the hairstylist would say to the patient or client. And so he felt that because we're in a profession where we're hands-on, when you touch people, they open up, that it's really important that we learn how to handle people delicately, knowing what our parameters are and being able to really understand what it is that they're saying. And I just find the whole psyche really intriguing. I love to really get to know the person underneath the hair.
Okay, now we've gotten to know about the award recognition as well as some of the key elements to your business. I'm also just wondering, so how do you get involved with the community? How do you reach out to people on a business and a personal level?
I have been a volunteer at Hospice Simcoe for about 7 years since the passing of my father there. He was there less than 24 hours, long enough to bring me there to meet these people and to know that I had another calling. I had another place that I fit in to make a difference. So from hospice to homeless to quite often I visit people who are handicapped or in wheelchairs. It's an easy thing for me to give, and it makes such an impact on others. Uh, my women's connection events. Um, yeah, I volunteer at many different fundraisers and charities. I find it fulfills me. It makes me feel really good. Some people will say, "Oh, Sharon, you need to slow down. This is a lot of work for you," but it's not work when you feel really good about it. The work part is more of the running of the business and the staffing and the other things that come about within a business that I'm a process and I'm still learning about. We just celebrated our 5 year anniversary, and I must say this time around, owning my second business, I feel a little more confident, a little more sure about the decisions that I make with experience, with the years of experience I've acquired.
Okay, now I'd also love to hear from you, Sharon, where if there is a listener that's passionate about going into the hair industry and possibly starting up their own business as a stylist, what advice would you give them?
Get educated. Get educated and know what you're doing to make it successful. I tried. I thought I was succeeding. I fell. I got back up and said, I'm never going to own another salon again. There was no way I ever wanted to. And then here I was 18 years later saying, oh, it's still in me. I am not a follower. I need to lead a team. But in order for me to do that, I needed to have the skills necessary to do that. And so I approached Grow Vantage and I took a course there and really felt better. I felt more confident, felt more empowered. Still a little scared, as most business owners are when they venture out on their own, but it felt right and it was exciting.
All right, fantastic. Again, thank you so much, Sharon, for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, James.
All right, and that's it. Thank you so much for listening to our final episode of the I Can Show podcast. If you got any value out of this, I would love to ask you to please either sign up and follow us on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or on iTunes and Spotify and check out the other podcast episodes. Or if you like what you've heard, please leave a comment, leave a review, and tell others how this show has inspired you. And if you could please share this to other entrepreneurs, that would also be wonderful. We would love to still impact other people and still help other entrepreneurs to find the passion and find the journey that's going to help get them to success in doing what they love on their own terms. There's also our merchandise. I'm going to put the link in the description, and you can see the link on the bottom of the screen as well. So if you want to go and get your own merchandise and further support this podcast to keep it going, that would be very much appreciated. And again, I have to say a personal thank you very much for everyone that's downloaded and listened to all the episodes of the I Can Show podcast. My name is James Martin. You can always connect with me on social media and check out other things that I'm doing as I continue along my journey. But I'm still a believer, and I'm still out on a mission to help other entrepreneurs to get practical advice and get the encouragement and the tools and tips that they need in order to succeed in their passion. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Have the most amazing week ever, and I will see you next time. Take care.